Welcome to Final Approach with Chris Gregory. I am a philomath who is somebody who loves to learn things. One of the things that I've learned is that everyone has a tale to tell and a lesson to teach. From pilots to farriers to musicians to authors and creators, I'm going to explore my interests while introducing you to some amazing people. Pre-flight is complete and we have clearance, so let's kick the tires and start the fires. Jonathan Nunn FWCF has been a good friend for a good long time. We competed against each other in farrier contests many times over the years and shared some great times in different parts of the world as we both pursued our dreams of becoming a better farrier. When Cody was 17 years old and chasing his associateship with the Worship Company of Ferriers, he spent quite a bit of time with John in England as they shod horses and worked on the theory side of that exam. John is now an examiner for the Worship Company of Farriers and was in the Heartland for a few days doing a high-level clinic for my son Cody, Emilio Giannotti, Brian Mullins, and several others as they pursue their fellowship or associateship exams. I was able to get John to sit down with me for a short time, so welcome to our conversation. We are cleared for takeoff. Well, everybody, I am sitting here with Jonathan Nunn, FWCF, British farrier, longtime friend. How are you doing?
Yeah, good, Chris. Thanks for having me along. Yeah, been fun.
Yeah, Jonathan's been here for 3 days doing a advanced clinic for AW and FWCF. How was your clinic?
Yeah, real good. Pretty hot in there, but we didn't lose anyone. We got through it. Yeah, it was good fun, a lot of fun. Went through a few scenarios and talking through exam strategies and made plenty of bar shoes.
Well, that's good. And you guys even shot some horses and worked on thesis as well, huh?
Yeah, we've been 2 days AW prep and then a day with Cody and Emilio talking about fellowship strategy and looking through thesis and trying to help them along. We've all got to start somewhere, and that's what we recognise, you know?
Yeah, so a lot of you guys out there listening, the fellowship is a good place to start.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So John's just about 6 months older than me, but I've known you for a long time. Do you remember where we first met?
I think we might have met with Grant or Calgary.
Probably Calgary. When was your first year there?
2010, one rookie.
No kidding.
Yeah. But I'd met you before. I'm sure I met you.
I think I might have met you in England.
In England when you were visiting Grant or...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so now how many times did you go to Calgary?
3 times.
You were top 5?
2013. So 2010, I was sponsored. So I went with Mustad and one rookie. Me and Rodney King won potluck.
Nice.
Yeah. And then 2011, just missed out top 10, and I got the hunger for it, and then missed 2012. We were moving house, and I know it was burning in me to go again. So I was lucky enough to go. Grant asked me along as well, so I was on the 4-man draft team with Grant and Mustad again, and we won the 4-man draft.
Oh, very cool.
Top 5 that year. It was very memorable.
Yeah, I never did top 5. I top 10. And one year they announced me in the top 5. I was in the 5th position. This was, I think, 2003. And so they're announcing it. Don Gustafson, with his big baritone. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be starting in 10, 9. He said, oh, hold on just a second. And they had got the math wrong by 0.5 point. And so I had my horse there. I had my stock cut for the top 5.
Yeah.
And I had to go off of the arena.
Oh, no.
It was really...
I'd not practiced and Grant always, all along the way, he'd always say, you need to practice with the top 10 in mind and the top 5. Don't leave it out of your practice strategy, and so, yeah, because John didn't. So hence I was 5th in the top 5,
Still beat the other 60 guys that would have been killed in being the top 10, really.
Yeah, it was great. It was a great experience. And convention, yeah, that was it. We met at convention.
Oh, okay. So what year did you go to that?
That would have been 2009 convention or 2009.
So when did you start shoeing, John?
I was 18, left school, worked with horses for a short time. Didn't like wearing joppers. Although working with a bunch of girls was favourable, but yeah, the joppers weren't a good look on John.
And did you grow up with horses?
Yeah, folks had horses. We were drivers, really, more than riders, so I still carriage drive now.
Now, your dad, was he a logger
Timber, yeah, he was a saw doctor, and he had a good understanding of metal and wood.
So what is a saw doctor? I don't understand.
A saw sharpener, so that was his apprenticeship by trade. So he sharpened saw blades. He was called himself a penknife carpenter, but he was a skilled guy with wood and metal as well. So I had an upbringing in timber, because he had his own business making garden furniture and decorative things out of timber and wood. So he was a creative man. He certainly influenced me a lot in my early days in my childhood, and he was a great mentor and someone who always had good advice and to look up to. We weren't steered or guided into careers, and it was kind of, well, you be what you want to be, and horses were my passion. I think I realised that when I was 15, I wanted a career with horses and tried to find my niche. I just kind of fell into it by chance, really, because I asked Dave Udall, who was a guy that he was the farrier at the time that was shoeing for mum and dad. I begged him for a job and said, look, you've got to let me work for you. And I was his only apprentice.
Was he a approved training farrier, or was it different at that time? Okay.
Not at the time, no. I had to persuade him to become an approved trading farrier so that he could train me.
All right. And so you're the only apprentice, and he never had another one?
He had a couple try out, but no, he didn't. He didn't have another one. I don't know whether I put him off for life.
Right. Yeah.
I like to think that he was, just go and find another one. It's quite the same. And we're still pals. He's just over 70 now, and I see him and speak to him a lot, and he lives locally.
Does he ever get under horses anymore?
Oh, he's still shoeing, yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah. And good standard, real good. Again, the upbringing that I had in my apprenticeship, it was lots of shoemaking. He was a good blacksmith, so I had a good grounding in terms of my forging career. Started well with him.
Was he a competitor? Did he go to contests?
No, but he was always keen in education, and he ran one of our local competitions, Stafford County Show, and he's still involved in that now. Dave's he's kind of the grandfather of a lot of things in our area. He's a good guy, and he's still shoeing. I saw one of his jobs the other week, and my apprentice said, "Go and take a look at that." You'd like to think that you could shoe a horse like that when you're 70.
Oh, yeah.
70 odd. He could clench with a hammer like no one else I've ever seen, because we were brought up without clench tongs.
Right.
My apprenticeship was hammer clench.
Do you still hammer clench?
Yeah, I can do it. Yeah, I can do it. Not equally as good as him, he could just pull one from nowhere, and he still can. I watch him. Sometimes if we're shoeing somewhere, stop and have a chat and catch up. I make sure I stop to watch him finish off because he's just unreal. Yeah, he's out every day. Yeah, he perhaps do 2 or 3 a day. Yeah, but he's still shoeing.
If you're doing 2 a day and you're 70, that's really something.
Yeah.
Well, that's very cool. Now, did you have brothers and sisters?
Yeah, a brother. He's a teacher. He's older brother, and then 2 sisters. One of those is a teacher, and the other's a nurse, retired now. Yeah, so.
But you're the only farrier then?
I was the only farrier. Yeah, I was the youngest of 4. I stayed in horses really. I kind of picked up the horse game probably a little bit later. Was it probably not till I was 10 years old, and then sort of stayed with horses and forever. Had horses of my own, and it's part of my life. Horses are part of what I'd grown up with.
And you still drive, right?
Still carriage drive, yeah.
Do you rent yourself out for weddings and stuff, or do you?
I have done a wedding, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, for somebody that I've shod for. Somebody asked me to do his funeral, actually, but I said, no, you don't really want my horses doing the funeral. They might not be there for, I don't know if I'd trust them carrying a casket, really.
I told Kelly I wanted to be cremated. She says, well, I could schedule it for Thursday.
I've got 2 horses and a retired thoroughbred and a few donkeys as well, 3 donkeys.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I don't know how I acquired the donkeys. One of them was a gift from my lovely wife. She's always wanted a donkey, so he's 20 odd now, but.
Does she spend a lot of time with him?
Yeah, she has, yeah. He's never worked. He's just been a good companion for the horses a lot of the time. They keep them calm. And
I haven't seen a lot of donkeys in the UK. Are they popular?
Yeah. We counted up how many donkeys we do on our round, and I think we're 40 or 50 donkeys that we look after.
That's very cool.
In quite a small area, there's lots of donkeys.
So what year did you get qualified? Was that about 1990? 1990,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah. We served a 4-year apprenticeship, and back then I think it was about 23 weeks at college. it's changed a little bit now. Again, the basis of the first 6 weeks of your training at college was a lot of blacksmithing, forging, blacksmithing. We were making tongs. So, 18 or 19, we were building tongs, drawing out sections, and the college test was a blacksmithing piece, so a shackle. So back then we were still a 4-year apprenticeship, but there used to be a 7-year apprenticeship in the UK, and it was agricultural engineer. So blacksmithing and agricultural engineer was before my time.
That was back when NAFB was a thing.
Yeah. So my old boss did the 7-year apprenticeship, and he was an agricultural engineer. He still retained a lot of his traditional blacksmithing skills, and still does now. He's a master of the anvil, blacksmith.
Okay.
And then 4-year apprenticeship, most of your time was spent with your ATF, so approved training farrier. And then I was diploma. So at the end of the 4 years, take the diploma exam, which was very similar to what it's been for many years.
When did you get your AWCF?
Quite some time after my apprenticeship, we started a family, settled down. I bought our first house, and I was busy shoeing. I had started training apprentices myself quite early in my career as well. So I was probably 28 when
So back then, you could be an ATF without being an AWCF, right?
Yeah.
So you'd be an approved training farrier without having your associateship.
So if you showed an interest to train, as long as you had a fixed forge with a coke fire and facilities to be able to train apprentices, you could apply to become an ATF. So
do you have to have your associateship now?
Right now, yeah. As the rule stands at the moment, yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. Yeah, I was busy shoeing for many years, and then we started running a local competition, Stafford County Show. Again, Dave had been present throughout, sort of running that competition and demonstration until we took on beginning the competition. And then from then, I kind of got rekindled the interest in forging, shoemaking, and we always made shoes though. I'd never stopped, but I was quite late picking up the AW journey, So I started to study towards, I competed, and then I thought, I need to do something with this, What can I do to expand on the new skills I'm learning? Me and Grant met. He was living locally. He was hiding in Staffordshire at one point. He was kind of...
Was that the house with the pool?
No, it was one before.
Okay. Yeah, I stayed in the house before. I went to Christmas at the house with the pool. But the house before, I think we went over to your place and then went to a contest and talked with.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we did. Yeah.
And Cody had been in the country for a while then, and I think he had been with you Cody stayed with you for like a month, didn't he?
Month.
Yeah.
Yeah, he stayed, before we took the associate exam, Cody stayed for a month and we studied pretty hard. So probably I started to study, I think I took my practical 2009, passed theory in 2010. I've split the exam because I didn't feel I could dedicate enough time to practice.
Both halves of it.
Yeah, yeah. Again, I'd not been in the books for a long time. I kind of had to. And again, I had good mentors. Grant was one of them. Mark Watson helped us all along quite a lot at the beginning, in the early stages.
Yeah, he's really good at the theory, huh?
Brilliant. Yeah, so giving us kind of revision strategy and sort of a good approach of how to start to get your brain working again, So I started diploma, bearing in mind, during my apprenticeship, we didn't do anatomy above the knee.
Not even at the college then?
No.
Oh, wow.
My apprenticeship was pretty much all lower limb.
Yeah, okay. All right.
And the hoof. So then I thought, well, a good, and Mark helped us with that, he said, do a month or 2 months just diploma. Go back to the start, because we never started at the start, really. So I had to start again. I had no clue even where the radius was.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But I knew the horse,
Yeah, but if you're studying stuff below, you're not going to know the stuff above. I mean, you just don't know what you don't know.
No. And it's amazing, how you can get through life as a horseman. Growing up with horses, I understood horses, I think, probably more so now. I kind of a little bit more understanding about their wants and needs and behaviour patterns. But yeah, there's a lot of guys you meet that kind of, they've been really good farriers, but not necessarily known the intricacies of understanding anatomy.
We have a trade where the demand for a craftsman is so high that you don't actually have to be that knowledgeable. If you are able to get a foot flat, If you're able to get a shoe reasonably shaped and they stay on and the horse stays sound, you have a job.
Yeah.
So the demand is so high, at least in the United States, that a lot of people that don't want to learn the anatomy and the pathology and the theory and the gaits and analysis and all of that, they don't have to.
Yeah. I think the reason that I kind of embarked on the journey that I started on with the associate, I thought to myself, what a waste to carry on for the rest of my career and not achieve everything I wanted to be. I always wanted to shoot to try and be as good as I could be, and it just came about in a different way. I know some guys who were sort of took the diploma and then within the minimum time frame took their associate. Stuart Armstrong being one of those people, he was very young when he took his FWCF. Stuart was an examiner for the WCF as well.
Right.
You'd know Stuart.
Yep. Yeah, I know Stuart. Yes.
He achieved all of the exams within their minimum time frame, didn't he?
I don't know his history really, but so when did you get your fellowship? How long has that been?
2017.
And you are now a Worshipful Company examiner.
Yeah, I am, yeah.
You're an examiner, but do you also serve the FRC?
I was asked by Sandy Beveridge to become an examiner 2012.
Well, I saw you at a few of the examiner
TNS Day, Training and Standardization.
Day. So you were there, and I don't think at that time you were a FW yet.
Back then we were co-opted on with the point of view that we had to take at least one module within 2 years. So I said to Sandy, well, I'm going for it anyway, and I'm going to take. And Sandy mentored. He was a great mentor for me as well. In the early days, taught me a lot.
Yeah. No, I got to stay with him. Very handy man.
Yeah, I think the exam changes to the practical in the fellowship happened around about 2015, didn't it? Where it became not cadaver practical. So I was really keen for that.
Yes, I think it was a good move.
And I supported that wholeheartedly. Again, I split the modules, took the first module in 2015, practical module, and then started working on different thesis ideas, scrapped a few. Some were in practical, and I was head in hands thinking, oh, no, what am I going to do? And again, Grant came to the rescue and said, how do you fancy working with me on a project together? And we did a project at Royal Vet College.
All right. Very cool.
We did a collaborative project.
Kind of like Emilio and Cody are doing.
Yeah. Grant was mapping feet, and we did that on cadaver limbs. So we had 100 cadavers. Pre and post trim, we CT scanned them. So we got CT images of 100 cadavers and managed to get my thesis idea from that. And from then on, presented my fellowship thesis in 2017 and passed.
All right. For the listeners that don't understand, the fellowship, the practical side of it used to be pretty watered down, really. They would give you a dead foot, you would trim it, and then they would have you make a shoe to that dead foot. And it could be any shoe. When I took my fellowship in 1998, I trimmed the foot, and they took the foot away from me. And then they gave me a card, and they wanted a patent bar with a 1 3/4 inch lift. And so that was mine. Yeah. I don't think they expected me to, but I had used a lot of patent bars. It was a very lucky draw for me, but I don't think they thought I was going to be. I was going to be lucky. Because, in the early 90s, we had a patent bar for the AFA contest. And so it was our qualifier shoe.
Yeah.
And so I had made a lot of patent bars. And, of course, if I could ever use one on a horse, I did. And it is such a handy shoe. The patent bar, I think, is one of those shoes that is often needed and not used because a lot of guys don't know how to make it. A lot of vets don't understand how it's used, and so it doesn't get used. But anyway, I was quite happy that they called for that, and it became my pass. Yeah.
You were and still are you were the only overseas examiner to be appointed with the WCF, weren't you?
Yes, sir. So I was a examiner from 2009 to 2014, I believe. The FITS exam. Which have you done any FITS exams? I guess
no, I haven't.
The FITS exam, I was really going with it pretty heavily, and the registration council said if you're going to be a Worshipful Company examiner, you cannot be a FITS examiner or an AFA examiner. So I had to choose. And Stephen Newman had done some FITS exams with me, And at that time, he also had to choose, and he chose the Worshipful Company, and I chose to stay with Fitz in the higher level of the AFA.
Yeah.
A tremendous program. The Worshipful Company exams and what you guys offer to the world is just it's an unbelievable standard, and it's helped so many horses around the world. If you want to really look at it, having a farrier in Argentina or a farrier in South Africa trying to achieve those levels has helped a lot of horses and a lot of horseshoers become a lot better. So that's pretty cool.
And I think in this age of travel and communication as well, the WCF have reached out to many more countries, haven't they? In Australia and the US with your help as well. I know that you've been a big part of that as well in kind of bringing the higher exams and the diploma to the US.
We brought it to the Heartland. The first time the Worshipful Company ever did an exam overseas was in 2009 at the Heartland, at Heartland Horseshoe School. I think we did it 3 times. It could have been just 2, but then they decided to go to another place, and so they've been doing it at another school for several years. But they also, with the Fitz exam, most of the guys that were Fitz examiners or taking the Fitz exams in places like Australia and South Africa, those were the guys that were very excited to become Worshipful Company candidates. Yeah. So it's been very cool to watch from the sidelines. So.
Yeah. It's a great standard. I'm certainly proud to have attained the fellowship. And when I sort of embarked on it, and I said to Sandy, I want to take the hardest exam in the world. That's what I want it to be, and it's a tough test. And certainly, again, I had to sort of reawaken my non-academic side. So my left brain had been dormant for a lot of years, I think. I'm not an academic. I actually really see the value of numbers. Maths always was a turn-off for me,
Oh, yeah.
If I saw a sheet of numbers, my...
Just switched off, huh?
Yeah, left brain was like, you can't deal with this. Let the right brain take over. But I really got engaged in it and read a lot of material and enjoyed the journey towards the fellowship.
Now, you do clinics all over the world now. How often are you doing clinics now, John?
This year started again, really a new interest. Hoofbeat and Workman. I've been an ambassador for Hoofbeat.
Yeah, tell us about Hoofbeat.
So yeah, Hoofbeat's a gait analysis system.
I'm sorry for my ignorance here, but is Workman Black and Hoofbeat the same thing?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
So my involvement with Workman began around about the same time when I'd passed my fellowship. Ryan asked me if I'd be interested in becoming an ambassador and working alongside Workman. I said, look, I've got to get this exam done. Once I'm done with that, then I'd love to, yeah. So that all happened around about 2017. And then Crystal, Ryan's sister, asked me if I would get involved with the Workman Black project then. So as a tester, we tested the system in the field in the sort of the early stages of its development.
Would you tell us what the system does for everybody?
So it's a motion tracking device. So it uses accelerometers and gyroscopes, like in micro technology, and small sensors which attach to the hoof, and they track motion and movement. Actually, it's a live measurement. You can measure in your work scenarios on hard and soft surfaces on a straight line trot up. So you can see stride abnormalities within the data, the way that the data is analysed and the way it presents. We can analyse data and look at abnormalities and stride defects or landing timings and breakover times. The technologies of gait analysis has been around for a number of years, but this is a real user-friendly, farrier-friendly device, which is quick and easy to use. And from its infancy, there's some of us that were team farriers with Workman. We gave advice of kind of, yeah, this works, that doesn't work, or, this is difficult and we need to change. We gave advice to the programmers as well and came up with some new aspects as well from a farrier perspective that would be helpful. So alongside with some of the guys, Bernie Prince and team farriers within Workman. So there was a number of us, Magnus Smederod from Sweden. Yeah, we're still using the system. And
so do you use it in your regular practice?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
How do you use it?
Sometimes on consults now, so it's either other farriers ask me to go and help them with a case, measure a horse and give them feedback or advice, or I'd sometimes even help them shoot a horse as well alongside them.
Have you often put the system on a horse, done a trot up, and said, okay, we really need to change the angle, change the breakover, stuff like that?
Yeah.
That happens quite often.
I've done probably over 1,000 measurements now.
Wow.
And the database collection is huge. There's over 24,000 measurements from around the world. So all of the system data goes to a central cloud database. Now that they're doing that, the Hoofbeat company can compare data with the database averages. So now we're pulling out a whole new lot of information as well. There's a massive data set that's comparable. So I'd say sometimes there is surprises, you never know with a horse, just how they compensate. One of the things it's made me realize is just how stoic horses are and how much they can hide away. They're a flight animal, aren't they? And the way that they're built and the way that they survive, they can just soldier on. But actually they hide a lot. They hide a lot of things away that are not always apparent.
So you're saying like a horse is a little bit lame, but he'll go ahead and take it and he'll go out and do his job.
Yeah. And we know that. And sometimes the signs that emerge from a very lame horse, that where we didn't see the signals early on, sometimes they're a long way down the road when the damage has occurred because we didn't read the signs early on. And one of what I find the strengths of the gait analysis and any of its forms, or even just evaluation and dynamic evaluation, is a great way to ensure that horses benefit for the future as well. If you can prevent, I'm involved with corrective and remedial work, but I'd like it not to happen to get to that point, and I think that's a strong point in my business. It's always been sort of prevention.
So you'd have a 5-year-old, you get a baseline measurement, and then you look at it again 3 years later. And
Yeah, we can use it in that way as an advantage as well. So it's rather than using it as a diagnostic tool for lameness, we use it as a good baseline measurement for performance as well. So,
are there a lot of these units being used out there? Are there a lot of them in the world? I've seen one in Israel, and Guy Karsh put it on there, and then of course Emilio has his.
There's been a great uptake. Yeah, I think the UK has currently the largest amount of devices.
And so, what do you charge to do a measurement on a horse?
It depends how many times we measure. So sometimes I'll measure, if it's a barefoot horse, I might measure before and after trim. If it's a shod horse, depending on if it's a regularly shod horse or a one-off measurement, it really depends. But between 80 and 150, I'd say, for a measurement. And again, often my consult measurements are coming with report as well. So I'll send a report with the data results. So it comes in a format that the farrier or veterinarian can read. And then I usually back it up with a personal email report of my own interpretation of the findings as well. 150, I'd say, in that region.
Yeah, you're talking dollars or pounds?
Pounds.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So a farrier that gets one of these can make it pay for itself.
Yeah. Certainly, if it's used in the right way and promote it for what it can do and understand. It takes a lot of interpretation and understanding. Hoofbeat have done quite a lot of instructional videos on YouTube of how to use the system and how to interpret the system, because it doesn't tell you what to do.
Right. You don't get the information that says put a rocker toe on the right front. Right.
No. So if there's a big difference in landing timings, or you're looking at lameness, for instance, some horses that I know that I measure regularly, I know by the end of their shoeing cycle, their landing timings can double or treble in millisecond timing. So it's measured in milliseconds. So I've got one horse that I know by the end of a 5-week cycle, that horse is up to 40 or 50 milliseconds on one foot, and it might be 25 on the opposite foot. So that's a lot of delay. Although the horses didn't lame, milliseconds is a fraction in timing. But if you balance that out in all the strides that horse takes, timing imbalances can have a big impact on the horse as well. In terms of symmetric stride,
right?
I don't necessarily always talk about lameness. I think a horse could be not lame, but asymmetric.
And so on this particular horse, as soon as you shoe him, he goes back to even, and then he gets further apart as time goes on.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he's got a medial lateral imbalance, and it's kind of derived from a conformational influence as well.
Okay.
So I know that when his foot needs trimming, his landing times are certainly affected. He's a high level horse, So we use the system in that way as a performance enhancement, performance measurement as well.
And so they're able to kind of time their shoeing around big events, knowing this then.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And looking at shoeing intervals as well. So we know that we're always trying to get horses on short intervals, aren't we? I'm lucky that if I say to one of my clients a recommendation that we need to put a horse on 4-week shoeing intervals, I'm usually
they're going to do it.
Benefit from that, But not everyone has that benefit.
Sure.
Your shoeing intervals are dictated by the consumer, aren't they? By the person who pays the bills. And in other countries, they're not that fortunate. They get 8-9 week shoeing intervals.
Yes, or even further if you're here.
We've had the same in England, 9-10 week shoeing intervals, but it depends on the horse and the time of year, and
yes, a lot of variables.
The foot growth. And
so what about your business now? You shoe with your son, who is 30 years old.
Yeah, so Josh became a farrier from as soon as he left school, 17.
And you were his ATF?
I was.
Right?
Yeah.
How was that?
Well, I think he appreciates it now. He said to me not long ago, he said, "Thanks, Dad." He said, "Thanks for being a hard boss." A tough dad.
Were you a hard boss?
I've got a standard. As you well know, everyone has to reach a high standard. Yeah. And somebody said to me once, "Hey, you don't know what it's like to try and reach your standard." I said, "Oh, yeah, I do." Because I have to maintain it myself. So, yeah, he appreciates it. And he's got to work with a lot of fantastic farriers. We've both had great careers, and we can equally look back on it and say, it's been good times for us. And Josh is like, he's met Cody and spent time with Cody. He's traveled the world as well so far, way before I had an opportunity to expand my knowledge. He's already got that benefit. And yeah, we work together still. He does some days for his own book, and we still work together 2 or 3 days a week.
How many apprentices have you taken?
10 now.
10?
Yeah.
Including Josh?
Yeah. Still get along with most. And yeah, James lives locally, my first apprentice. So he was, 1993, I think he started with me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, just about when Josh was born, 1993, 94, James started working for me. I try not to have multiples. I try to have 1 or 2 apprentices at any one time and keep it tight. Try and keep, most of my apprentices work with me.
You don't send them out in their own truck early?
I think there comes a time when they've got to be able to learn.
Do you guys have 2 rigs on the road now? You and Josh?
Yeah, we alternate. Sometimes we're just in one vehicle, or we meet up if we've got a tacking on shoes days, or more, 2 or 3 shoes on in the morning, and then we'll meet up and do some numbers together. But yeah, it's less of a numbers game for me now.
Right.
It's become always, you're kind of striving to keep the quality in your business, aren't you?
And what type of horse do you mainly shoe, Jonathan?
Mostly dressage, rider schools, and we've got quite a good number of everything, really. We're lucky at where we live. There's still a few hunters in the business, eventers, a few drafts.
Do you do any race horses?
Not much.
Okay.
No. Have done small racing yards, but not any big contracts of racing. I can't get up early in the morning. Although I do wake up sort of 6:30, but I'd rather not be under the first horse by. Yes, I normally 7:30, 7:45, and then we meet at the forge.
So what is your morning routine then?
Normally do my own horses in the morning, which aren't very far away from my workplace. Get to the forge, prep any shoes we need for the day. Brandon's normally in at 7:45.
And that's your apprentice?
Yeah, so get prepped for the day, load up, and away we go. Yeah, it's quite varied. We're still making shoes quite a few of the therapeutic shoes that we make, like, so again, studying for AW and FWCF, I didn't put on a keg bar shoe. I made everything.
Sure.
Try to.
Now, is Josh pursuing his AWCF?
Yeah, he did pick it up. He wants to. You've got to choose the right time when you can wholly commit to it, because you've got to immerse yourself in it, haven't you?
Yeah, it requires all your spare time.
Yeah. He talks about it a lot, and I think he will. He's plenty of time for that. Yeah. Yet.
Is he competing around England much?
Yeah, he's competing abroad as well, when he can.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. He's.
But he hadn't made it to Calgary yet.
No, that's one thing he's been pulling my shirt tail over. He's like, Dad, I became a farrier so he can compete at Calgary. Now the World Championships back on. Come on, we got to go. So I'd love to. Got to protect the old elbows, but I would love to do it to compete there with Josh. But we've competed in a lot of countries in the world. Done a few WCBs with Josh as well. Sweden, Norway. So the Scandinavian countries they've got some great farriers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the competitions there, you're amongst some good guys, So it's a healthy environment for learning as well, because the Scandinavian farriers are really pushing on as well,
Yeah. No, I've seen that the EFA thing is getting stronger, and everybody wants to be better.
Yeah.
The internet has changed the world a lot, and allowed everybody, no matter where you're at, to see standards that you never saw. Or at least when I was a youngster, I didn't know what a good standard was because I'd never seen one. And then you'd go to a clinic and you'd see, Dean Pearson or Jim Poor or Edward Martin, and they would do something that you never dreamed of. Well, now I can sit here in my underwear if I want to and watch the very best in the world do it. So
yeah,
it's changed it a lot.
Yeah, going back to sort of traditional influences, and some of it you can agree or disagree with, but it's been a great revolution. Farriers seem to be strong on Facebook, and again, as a competition organizer myself, we've run our local competition for over 20 years. And back in the day, we were posting out by letters to try and get our competitors together, posting out schedules, calling around and trying to get competitors. Whereas now, you advertise your competition online, on Facebook or on the internet, and you can fill it. It's made things so much easier in terms of being able to deliver a competition or clinics.
Yeah, absolutely. I often ask people to teach me something unrelated. What could you teach me with words unrelated to what we've been talking about? How to hook a horse up to a harness, or
how long have you got to hook a horse up to harness?
Is there a simple part of that you could teach with words?
Don't get the reins the wrong way around.
Okay.
It's a bit complicated with a pair. With pairs driving, I've been pairs driving for a few years now, but obviously you've still got two reins. Both right reins go to the right side of each horse's mouth, and
oh, okay, all right.
You've got two reins, but one side of the mouth of both horses in.
So your right hand is holding a right rein, which is the right side of the left horse and the right side of the right horse.
Yeah.
And the left hand is the opposite, so it's the left side of the right horse, left side of the left horse.
That's it.
Your left hand.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, I've been lucky enough to have some great teachers with driving, but with pairs, yeah, it's a game of trust.
Do you mark the reins? Do you
pretty much no? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You don't got a little piece of red tape on them or anything?
No. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's fun. You should come next time you visit. Have you ever driven?
I have driven very, very little, just one horse.
Yeah.
And Spider-Man. We trained him enough to drive that I could deliver Kirsty for the wedding whenever she married Cody. So I drove her around up the driveway, and they got married right here at the end of the driveway.
Yeah.
So no, very little.
It's good fun, yeah. I'll tell you, I promise not to go fast.
Do you have a really nice carriage?
It's like a marathon cross-country vehicle,
Okay.
It's like a back step, but the seat's on the back. We can fit 4 or 5 people on it. Yeah.
All right.
I promise not to go fast.
So are you a reader? Do you read a lot?
When I can, yeah. I mean, I'm trying to, again, brush up on anatomy knowledge. And
so the stuff you read is all trade related. You don't sit down and read a Stephen King novel then?
Pretty much, yeah. I quite enjoy some of the car programs, and so I'm reading a Henry Cole book right now. So
Okay.
he's a motorbike enthusiast. He kind of maintains and finds old cars that are wrecks and finds barn finds. And
So this is not a novel. This is
no, it's just
like a memoir.
a story of where he began, and how he got into TV, really. But yeah, so Henry Cole's one of my heroes, I guess. I'm following some of what he does.
Are you into old motorcycles and old cars?
I love them. I haven't got one.
You don't have one?
No. Early days, I did own a small motorcycle to get me to work before I could afford a car, But yeah, I fell off it a couple of times.
Yeah, that can be dangerous, huh?
I'd love one, but I think I'd just be accused of
midlife crisis.
Midlife crisis if I went out and bought a Harley now. I can dream of it,
Have you been to Brazil?
I haven't, no.
Well, if you ever get to Sao Paulo, they'll have like 5 lanes of traffic, and there'll be 6 cars, and then there'll be motorcycles between every one of them. They kill like 20 people a day on motorcycles in that city.
Way. Yeah.
The traffic will be doing 30 miles an hour, and the motorcycles will be screaming between cars at 80 miles an hour. It's pretty unbelievable to watch, and quite frightening.
Yeah, I've been doing some work in the Isle of Man, and I call it the burden of expertise. But I go and see a horse in the Isle of Man, and he's been pretty sick, so laminitis case. So I have to catch a ferry over to the Isle of Man, and as you know, there they have the TT, so the time trial. It's a road race around the Isle of Man. It's crazy. Even if you're not a motorcycle fanatic, it just for a week in June, a massive amount of bikers descend on the Isle of Man, and it's only a small island, and it's just full of motorbikes. They close the roads, and they have this crazy road race around the Isle of Man. Yeah.
Have you got to watch it?
I was there for practice, so I went over to see Gerald again, the horse, and I did my work, and then went to see a few of the practices there. Yeah.
Pretty crazy, yeah?
Yeah, it's mad. There's small roads, as you know.
Well, I've never been to Isle of Man, but there's definitely small roads in England.
And much like Wales as well, in stone walls, tight corners, there's like a mountain road as well. So big drops, and you don't want to come off in the Isle of Man. But their average speeds are just like 140 miles an hour. It's mad. I'd love it, but I appreciate the danger, and I'm not sure if John needs any more danger in his life by getting a motorcycle, but maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
It would probably suit you. Yeah. You can grow a mustache like mine, and then that would help.
Yeah. Love that.
Is there anything that we haven't talked about you'd like to talk about?
I've enjoyed my time here, and
we've enjoyed having you here.
Appreciate what you've done for Farrier as well. That's something I'd like to talk about, is give you credit for some of the great things you've done. And
I've been interviewed on podcasts, so I appreciate it, John. But to get you on this podcast is such an honor.
I'd just probably like to thank everyone that's helped me along on my journey. If there's any part of me that is doing what I'm doing, it's a realization of giving back to the industry.
Yeah, I definitely know about that. Yeah, very cool. Well, sir, you've been a wonderful clinician. These guys that were at this clinic for the last 2-3 days, they've been just like, my goodness, that's the best clinic I've ever been to. And I told one guy, I said, well, you've been to my clinic before. You should. But anyway, I thank you so much for your time.
Thank
and your
you.
expertise.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and thanks for the opportunity to come and visit. It's the first time I've been to Heartland, but it feels like I've been before.
Yeah.
I'm amongst friends, and I wish I'd have managed to come years ago, but
Well, you have to send Josh.
I hope so. Yeah, you can put him to work.
Yeah.
He'll work hard.
Thank you, Jonathan. It's been awesome.
Thanks, Chris.
MullinsFarrier.supercast.com. There is a lot of information on the interweb and social media. This creates the problem of winnowing the wheat from the chaff. That is where having access to someone like Brian Mullins is such a gift to our trade. Responsible, knowledgeable, and informative, Brian's gift as a podcast host shines through in every recording. The last 5 years of legacy interviews will remain free, but premium access to this font of information going forward will be available at mullinsfarrier.supercast.com. Again, mullinsfarrier.supercast.com. For less than a fancy coffee a month, you can continue to learn and enjoy from the amazing Mr. Mullins. Money well spent. I was one of his first subscribers. So check out mullinsfarrier.supercast.com.